Hello, this is Darrell Gunter, your host for Leadership on WSOU 89.5 FM and streaming on the net at WSOU.net. Well, I'm so pleased to have back in our studio Mr. Max Riggsbee, who is the co-founder and Chief Product Officer for Gadget Software in their very new, exciting product, TopicLake Insights. Max, welcome back to the program.
Darrell, I'm pleased to be here. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today.
Man, I tell you, I wrote over the week. No, actually, I sent an article, a request out to a couple of magazines. I said probably one of the best products I've seen launched in the last 10 years. Most exciting, and most important for that. But Max, for the benefit of our guests who didn't listen to your other podcast from back in 2000.
Back in the day?
Can you just give a little overview of your background, education, et cetera, so that they can know just how deep Mr. Max Riggsbee is?
Sure. So I've been in and around technology in its various forms for 30 plus years, mostly on the data side. And when I say the data side, I mean actually from how data is actually stored. So I've worked, I've been involved with flash storage companies. I worked for Cisco Systems. I worked for Brocade and those organizations. I was chief technology officer, or I was also general manager at times. Led product efforts. I mean, I've also spent quite a bit of time in startup companies as well. Before there was Dropbox, interestingly enough, there was a company called Storage Networks, which really led the way in networked related storage. We at the time we called it storage over a wire. And since that time, I've done several other startups. One went public, the other was acquired. And now I'm into my third one. And this company is a little different because, as you well know, it's been heavily focused on data, but principally on text.
Right.
Right. So we don't crunch numbers, we crunch sentences and paragraphs, right? And that kind of thing. And so it's been a very exciting run to move from how things are physically stored into dealing with it in sort of this meaningful, abstracted way when it comes to AI and natural language processing and certainly large language models. And so I have a fairly deep experience both in physical tech, but also in virtual tech and in artificial intelligence as well.
So let's talk about the genesis of TopicLake Insights. How did this come about?
So this came about actually last year. So Gadget Software has been in the virtual publishing space for some time. Our real focus initially was how do we make very complex information readable on small devices, as you know, right? And we have a number of patents in that arena. But with the advent of OpenAI and large language models, certainly at the end of 22, but really into 2023, we had to ask ourselves a number of questions, which was, how are we going to leverage the technology that we have and actually integrate AI more aggressively? We were integrating it anyway. We've been using artificial intelligence and machine learning, natural language processing for some time, but certainly generative technology offers some new things. And so we were on a bit of a journey. We had a skunkworks project going on, really trying to look at a variety of different things that we wanted to do. And then one day someone literally just asked us the question, hey, do you think you could use your technology to make policy documents easier to read? To which we said, we don't even know what you're talking about. What policy documents are you talking about?
Right.
And literally, documents were virtually slid across the table, right? And for the first time, I really got to look at regulations and rulemaking. That was probably back in, let me see, April, May, maybe the May timeframe.
Mhm.
And so started looking at this material, and it was mind blowing, right? Size and scope and velocity and the whole 9 yards. But the real question was, could we make sense of it? Could we do anything with it? And so we started experimenting with it, and we discovered, wow, yeah, actually, we think we could do a lot with this data.
Mhm.
And I started working with our engineering team kind of posed the questions to them too. What do you think? I think there's some ways we could go after this information. And they said, yeah, we absolutely can go after this information. And so we then took our artificial intelligence and we literally pointed it at the Federal Register,
Mm-hmm.
and started ingesting what they publish, right? Initially, we took some sample cuts to kind of get a sense of things. But then once we had our legs underneath us, we decided we're just going to eat the whole thing.
You know, hey.
Eat the whole thing. And so we do. Every day we wake up and we ask them what they have, and they tell us, here's what we've got. And we use what we call a multi-stage AI process to organize that information. Well, first to identify what we want, and then to organize it, and then ultimately generate what we call insight.
Mhm.
And insights are generative pieces of information that tell you something about the document that you wouldn't easily be able to
Right.
derive just by simply trying to read it.
Mhm.
And as part of that, we've decided that we would also make some of these insights, readily available for people
Mhm.
on a regular basis. So if people go to topiclake.com, they can see that, they can have that experience and get a sampling of meaningful information. It's really something that you can you know, kind of run your business on a little bit. But we have deeper insights. We have over 16 million by the end of the year. I think we'll have over 100 million insights.
And this is quite significant because there's what, over 400 agencies that issue rulings and or proposed rulings during the business week, correct?
Absolutely. So one of the fascinating things about suddenly finding yourself, on the side of rulemaking, right, which is the sort of in that coin-like partnership with lawmaking,
Mm.
is that agencies issue rules all the time. They propose rules all the time. They also, send out notifications. And
Mhm.
so every day, some collection of agencies, either a primary agency or the sub agencies, the children, right, are issuing all kinds of rules and regulations. Sometimes they're issuing corrections, and they're always generating all kinds of proposals. And our goal is to make any and all of that information
Mhm.
easy to understand,
Mhm.
but also allow people to follow the velocity of it, right? Because this stuff is literally happening every day,
Wow.
right? This kind of information is coming out. So you end up with 1,000 rules a year, and that's not even including the proposed rules, right? Proposed
So
rules.
so if I'm a baker, I have a
Sure,
baking shop,
sure.
any different agencies do I need to be mindful of? Uh,
Wow, yeah, it's a good question, right? So so depending on maybe the size of your bakery, you might have some OSHA issues.
mhm.
Um, you got food involved, right?
Mhm.
So that sounds like something in the area of health and human services.
Right,
Have
right.
You may have something that relates to agriculture. Believe it or not, they have a lot of sub agencies, right? You're touching food, right? So there's cleanliness, there's materials. You may have to be on top of certain additives that are allowed or no longer allowed. It all depends really on the size and the scope, not only of your bakery, but the ingredients that you might be using, right? And that's on top of, right, the state regulations that you may also be dealing.
That's right. That's right. Wow. That is huge. Now, the other day, I was reading one of your notes from LinkedIn that you had. The Chevron decision is huge. Can you share with our audience the overview of the Chevron decision and how that's going to impact regulations?
Sure. So the Chevron deference, which was ruled upon in 1984,
Mhm.
was decided back in 84 that judges, when there's a dispute in law, so there's lawmaking, right? We all talk about that. If anybody on the call here remembers Schoolhouse Rock and I'm Just a Bill, right? So that was the lawmaking part of the story, right? And then of course that goes through goes through Congress and then is ultimately signed by the president, becomes a law. But once you have law, the law has to be organized into rules. We have to know how we're supposed to follow the law, and that's what the agencies do. In 1984, the court decided that the agencies may actually be in the best position at times to determine how a law should be interpreted, or a statute, right, when it's ambiguous, right? Sometimes Congress writes laws in such a manner that it creates flexibility. Others would call it ambiguity, right?
Okay.
And then agencies have some latitude there, or they've had latitude there. And so for the last 40 years until Friday, really was the purview of if you will, the legal, the judiciary to decide to, we'll defer to the agency. We'll defer to them, right? Just the deference aspect of it. On Friday, that all went away. On Friday, the current court decided that no, that just because something is ambiguous does not immediately imply that the agency can
Mhm.
make a decision as to what the law means. That's really the
Right.
responsibility of judges, and that judges would really be responsible now for making that decision, right?
Mhm.
Is this rule enforceable,
Mm.
or is it overstepping,
Right.
right? And then what does that mean if a regulation is struck down? A regulation, by the way, can have multiple parts to it, right? So you might be striking down one aspect, but not others. And so it changes the tone and the tenor and the course of things. And it's unclear how the agencies will respond to this, and it's unclear how businesses will respond. But what it does mean is certainly as of today, right, as the agencies are publishing in the Federal Register their proposals, which is really the point in time to challenge a lot of this. So anybody watching this call, right, watching this conversation,
Mhm.
if when an agency proposes a rule, us, everyday citizens, we can comment on those rules. They actually tell you who to comment to, how to comment, what to send in, right?
Okay.
You have to be there to follow it. That's one of the things we hope to help people
Mhm.
do along with businesses. But then the other side of that is perhaps, maybe your argument didn't hold weight, with the agency. They listened to you, said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this other thing. And then they, of course, ultimately publish what they call a final rule.
Mhm.
And now you'll have an opportunity, more likelihood of litigation, right? As many believe the playing field has been balanced, if you will, between the agencies that really had deference, right? The court was more like, we're gonna agree with the experts over here,
Right.
versus now where they have to sit in the middle of arguing parties, to decide what they want to do.
Wow.
So, so we're expecting that we're going to see many rules withdrawn and reissued,
Mhm.
and so we're expecting there's going to be a whole different cycle of, call it turmoil, in the sense of turnover,
Yep.
right? Rules in, out. Doesn't mean a rule is going to go away in its entirety, but it may get withdrawn and then reissued, and portions are going to get rewritten. It should prove to be a very interesting time, and it's certainly going to keep courts probably pretty busy.
Pretty bit in the law firms who have to be
And the
hired.
law firms, and the law firms. And actually, we may be surprised. I mean, I think you may find certainly smaller industries and smaller businesses, if you will, kind of getting together, if you
Mhm.
will, to sort of make their voice heard, from a litigation perspective.
And so this service was what launched in May, correct?
We launched it on March
Okay.
11th,
March 11th. Okay.
11th of this year.
And how many active users do you have now?
As of today, we about 130,000.
Wow.
Seeing global uptake,
Mhm.
people coming in from all over the world, that are interested in the rules and the regulations that are passed here in the United States, which is what encouraged us to actually launch an alerts product, right? So that people can be told, right, there's something of interest for you, right, to follow through on, right, and make it a bit more timely for them.
And of course, I'm sure, since Gadget started off in mobile, that's a mobile alert, correct?
So, well, it's an email alert, right? It's an email alert, but it's funny you say that. The vast majority of people who visit our site do come in on phones. It's over 80%. It's over 80%. And so the very first thing that we had to do when we were observing this was to adapt the reporting that we provide online so that it was, very mobile friendly, and to accommodate the fact that it was stunning to me, to be honest, that people are really rolling through these complex rules. Our goal is to make them simpler, but still, it's a lot of information on any given day for any agency or any rule. But yeah, the vast majority are on phones.
Max, since we're visual as well, you want to go ahead and show the platform?
Sure, just give me 1 second here. I will take you to, let me see if I've got a sign in over here, and I can. Yeah, let's try this, right? So let me pull a page out by itself. You just give me 1 second.
I
I
mean,
can
the
show.
mere that you have aggregated all of this information from these 400 plus agencies and added these very nice layers of of tools and Q&A that they're going to see. I just think it's going to save folks so much time. You got to watch out, Max. I think some folks might come in over there to kiss you.
Maybe that would be great, actually. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna go live to the site. So hold on here. Let me go live. And anybody on the call, if you'd like to, it's topiclake.com is where the actual live site is. And I'm going to actually duplicate this particular tab here and make it easy for us to move from point A to point B. Okay, let me share my screen, Terrell, here. Boom, boom, boom. Screen 4 and share. You should see that now, right?
I do.
Okay. All right, so let me just quickly describe what we're looking at. What we're looking at here. This is our homepage,
Hmm.
and as I mentioned earlier, we just launched policy alerts today. I'm going to show you what that. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment. But if you scroll down, what you will see here are the online insights,
Hmm.
and they're very current insights. So if today is the first, right? This is the 28th, which should have been Friday.
Nice.
Right, and so this is 5 days. So we make 5 days of insights available online. Now, this is going to change next week. This will still be here, but it will be 8 days further out, right? Because of the alerts product, we are aligning the more current, if you will, regulations. But you certainly will be able to, access any of this information, uh, rules and proposed rules, as they're pulled in. I'll talk in a moment about the process that we use to pull all this data in. You're able to select a specific day, and you can see here, right? It's reducing the number of agencies and, if you will, the number of documents that are involved. All these keywords are highly interactive. If I were to select on something such as reduction, as an example, right, it's going to reduce, and you can see this here in the map, right, it's going to reduce down the number of documents and agencies. Wherever you see this green, which is an agency, and these reds, if you will, this is telling you that these agencies, this green one and this green one and this green one, all share a document. That is
Wow.
not uncommon
Mhm.
for agencies to cross-publish. And sometimes what you'll have is, a parent agency and one of the children have published, right? So by the very nature of things, it's there. All the information here and here and here is all AI generated, right?
Nice.
So we have AI that determines, if you will, keyword values. It generates questions and answers. It generates summarized topical information. And then we use AI to structure the data as well, right? So that it's easy to find and organize. And then, of course, if you're inside of this interface, this particular toggle moves you back and forth between the summarized information and the actual source information, right? One of the things that's important with artificial intelligence is to enable people to always get to the actual source data.
Right.
This particular web page in here is actually connected to the Federal Register, Federal Register itself.
Nice.
So if I select either a specific topic, or if I select a specific agency, or if I select a specific document, this is ultimately going to resolve itself down to that specific piece, right? Um, Further down, so let me roll down the page, and I certainly invite people to go to the site. We also provide access to this information through an API.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And certainly encourage those who have either um, technical interest, or maybe have a technical team, right,
Mm-hmm.
that really understand, endpoints and routes, and understand potentially Power BI technology. They can request a trial. The trial is free. We provide a key, and in that key, you get access to 400 plus regulations. You get access to 68 agencies. It's all live data. It's just that the data is from April of last year.
April of last year.
Right.
Mhm.
But it's the same data that you're seeing up here. It's constrained, right? Down to a specific point in time. So let me talk a little bit about insights, not insights, alerts. So policy alerts, it has really come to us because of the amount of time that people have been spending on the site. We felt it was important for them to be able to choose
Mhm.
uh, certain agencies. This is in an early access mode right now, as we're trying to really get a really good understanding as to how people want to go after this kind of information. But this, let me give you an idea of what you're looking at. What you're looking at here, as you can probably hear my dog, right? Sit down, Nutmeg.
Where he's
Oh,
mine
yeah,
is clear.
yeah, yeah. They always like to be on the show, right? So what happens with agency alerts? Well, when you sign up, and sign up is free, uh,
Mhm.
you're at this stage, you can pick up to 5 agencies. So the 5 agencies that I've picked, from my account anyway: Transportation, Homeland Security, Treasury, Health and Human Services, and the Labor Department.
Mhm.
What you then receive, when any of those agencies publish
Mhm.
on a given day, you receive an email. By the way, interestingly enough, the email that you receive will have a visual representation too. So you will actually see agency logos for the ones that absolutely have them, and it'll tell you that this agency has published rules or proposed rules.
Mhm.
And it'll tell you how many topics and questions and answers there are. And this is really important, because the higher number of topics, the more complex the rule will be. The same thing will be true for the Q&As. So
Mhm.
here we have 9 rules on the 28th, 9 rules, and we have one proposed rule.
Mhm.
I'm going to take a look at this. Yeah, I'm going to go to this one. This is interesting because this is 10 and 1, but this actually has a higher topic count. Look at
Uh-huh.
this guy down here. He's 14. Let's go
Wow.
to this one. Let's go to the 20. Let's go to the 24th. So when you then select, you have in a sort of a descended list here of complexity. We've got the Transportation Department at the top and Homeland Security here. You can kind of go down the list. If you wish to filter, you
Mhm.
can filter this to say, I really only want to see rules,
Right.
right? And now we're just going to quickly only look at the rules, not the proposed rules. And so I'm going to pick one of these guys. And when you pick one of these, you can either view the actual document. Again, this is plugged directly into the Federal Register. So this is the document, but I find them hard to read, but this is fuel economy standards. Or you can view the insights, and it's telling you have 1,500 Q&A and 215 topics. And when you come to here, you're going to get a slightly different version
Mhm.
of the dashboard of the report itself. And one of the differences is, since this is really connected to something that you may be more interested in, we're going to give you the ability, and we do provide this, the ability for you to quickly grab this document number
Mhm.
that's here. let me wait for this to sort of settle
No.
down here for just a second. And I'm going to copy this. You can see that we've copied that document number, and I'm just going to paste that in there and hit, whoops, sorry. I'm going to paste that in there and hit return. And what you're going to see is all of this in here in a moment. Oh, come on. Yeah, oh, hold on. Now I did it too many times, Darrell. We're live. We're live. This is what starts to happen when you're live. Hold on here.
Uh-huh.
Let me just do this one more time.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to be down. So we're down to our one document here, right? And I can very quickly now dive into this particular document. I have 215 these are topics. I can quickly read through them. I don't know what scrappage is. Let's, I guess, go find out together. And so I can now, if you will, go through that particular document. I can use the generated Q&A. This is 10 Q&A. I can use the Q&A to kind of get a sense of what's in here, or I can quickly take a look at the keywords that have been generated. And this is all AI generated. So that's the part that's most important to understand. Summarizations are AI generated. The Q&A are AI generated. The keywords are AI generated. And so we are using AI in a very prescriptive way to do analysis, right? And we do it in a very, very tight loop, right? We put a lot of guardrails around it. And this is very granular. So what we do not do is we're not trying to analyze the whole document.
Right.
Our thought here is if you try and analyze the whole thing, it becomes meaningless, right? I mean, there's a lot of detail here. And so we want folks to have the ability to really, needle in the haystack, right? That's what I'm looking for. I want to find that particular needle. This also serves as an example of how you yourself can build a similar type of solution, right? So we are using the same APIs here that we make available to other people to go after. And these reports are downloadable, right? So if someone wants to see kind of what does this look like behind the scenes, they just need to sign up for the API. They'll get access to the API portal. And by getting access to the API portal, they'll get access to all these things as well.
Wow. Wow. Max, believe it or not, we have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
So what is the key message that you would like to leave with our audience about TopicLake Insights?
I think the key message is it is an opportunity. So there's several, right? On the technology side, let's start with that for a moment. On the technology side, we believe this is a very practical example of how AI can be massively beneficial. Okay. I had the pleasure of meeting with members of Capitol Hill when we were exploring this last summer. I met with a number of, members of the Senate and their office staff, I should say, and a number of different folks from different agencies. And they all pretty much said the same thing, right? Like, this is just a very practical example, right, of how you can use AI. So I think there's this technical aspect of it that's very interesting, and we go through a lot of effort. We work with a lot of models to try and get the content very, very right. And the one thing I will say about our approach, which is a little different than what people just generally hear about, there isn't variability in our approach. So for those that have worked with, whether it's OpenAI or Anthropic or you name it, we work with all of them as well. You ask it a question, it gives you an answer. You ask it the same question, 2 minutes later, you get a different answer. In this particular world, we think that's troubling, right? You and I should not receive different answers on the same regulation, right? And so we use AI in a manner of ensuring consistency, high quality, reliability, right? And we do it in a manner that allows us to, if you will, not engage those other types of challenges. It really has more to do with our approach, and I'm not saying that those approaches aren't valid. I'm just saying we decided for us, we believe that it's more important to have a level of consistency. On sort of the information side, not the tech side, on the information side, um, I think this provides an opportunity for anyone
Mhm.
to participate to more or lesser degrees in a very important process that affects us all, which is how do these regulations get made in the first place, right? And so, if you now have the opportunity, if you will, to look at, if you will, proposed regulations,
Mhm.
right? The things that people are thinking about. Well, this is also your opportunity to comment on it,
Mhm.
right? Because, for the most part, inside of these documents, they tell you how to comment on it. They tell you where to submit it. They tell you all kinds of things about what they're thinking, and this is your opportunity also to participate in
Mhm.
an entire side of government that most of us don't even realize works, but in some ways is the most important part of all. It's actually, it's not the law, it's the rules that are derived from the laws, right? And so it is an opportunity for anyone to participate in that process.
Mhm.
I think, and to be able to do it in a manner that's not intimidating. Maybe you care about health and human services.
Mhm.
Sign up, subscribe. It's free, right? It's not going to cost you anything for that. To get an email every now and again that says, "Hey, these guys just proposed a new rule."
Mhm.
And maybe you care. Maybe you do want to scribe a little something about it, either for or against, right? And so I think we have an opportunity at Gadget to lead in a way technically, but also to provide a service that I think has broad applicability, not just to everyday citizens, but again, researchers who want to be able to kind of follow things, companies that want to integrate this type of technology, this data that we build into their operating processes. There's a very wide, if you will, uh, constituency, if you will, we think of interested parties.
Well, Max, we got to have you back to come on, and folks can go to
No, wait, the Topic Lake.
topic.com,
Yep.
and is a free trial where
Yep.
folks can play around with the system.
Correct. And right on the website directly, you'll be able to access live regulations. They're live. This is I haven't signed up for anything here,
Uh-huh.
but the real magic will be in getting those alerts.
Yeah.
And the real magic will also be in making sure that you're up to date. And the latest and greatest is going to move with the alerts product, but there will always be access to some meaningful and recent regulatory information right on the homepage.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Mr. Max Riggsbee, the co-founder and chief product officer of Gadget Software, with their exciting new product, TopicLake.com Insights. Max, thanks for coming on the program.
Darrell, my pleasure to be here.
That wraps it up this week on Leadership with Darrell W. Gunter and WSOU 89.5 FM and streaming on the net. Have a great weekend. But remember, leadership begins with you.